This is the Bush Whisperer coming at you from the most beautiful penguin sanctuary, southern tip of Africa, Cape Agulhas, Simon's Town, Boulders Beach, penguin sanctuary. You can see him behind me. If you're wondering what this little guy's up to there, seems to be in a funny mood. Penguins are quiet, the sea's rough, there are a lot of fish near to the coast, you can tell by the wild birds. So it's a very interesting morning. Sun is rising, just risen actually, but you can't see it through the clouds. Come to talk to you today about transmuting anger. This is a big one. Before we can talk about transmuting anger, we've got to understand what anger is. We've got to understand the polarities of being that relate to anger. So to consider anger fairly and acutely, one needs to consider its counterpart. I want you to consider what pain is. Emotional pain and emotional anger. When other people are angry with you, it hurts, causes you emotional pain. When you're angry with other people, it causes them emotional pain. There's a conduit of energy that forms a polarity between these two. They work in synergy with each other. And within oneself, the polarity of anger is pain. The difference between anger and pain is very simple, really. Pain expresses. Pain is directed. Pain is a consciously focused energy ray that moves through a conduit. Pain is received. Pain moves inward. Pain is brought into the sphere of awareness and goes to the heart. Anger comes from the heart, radiating out like a laser beam at whatever or whoever we are angry with. Anger inspires action. Pain inspires introversion, consideration, contemplation. In the same way that anger and pain form two sides of a coin, one can use a like metaphor to understand it, a parable, if you will, of symbols. Consider how sorrow moves with sadness. Now, sadness isn't as acute as pain. Emotional pain is an extreme thing. It causes people to want to cry. Sadness and sorrow are an expression of the same octave of energy, but in a very mild extension. It's not so intense. One doesn't need to cry. One doesn't need to express the pain. It sort of hovers. And in the same way that annoyance is the masculine side of the sorrow sadness experience, anger is the masculine pole of the pain experience. And to experience this is to realize how to transmute these forces. So if someone's causing you pain emotionally, and you transmute that pain into anger, that anger will force you to protect yourself. These are animals protect themselves. If you hurt an animal and cause the animal physical pain, it will become emotionally in a state of pain, and the emotional pain will turn into anger that will be expressed as an action towards you to stop you from causing it the pain. The balance of life moves through the polarities of being. So to understand and grasp how to transmute, or where to begin in the process of transmuting anger, is to realize that pain is the key. Now, when we are suffering from anger, and I know this quite intimately because I had a very bad temper when I was young. I was a very angry boy. And I was the kind of guy you had to be careful with. Like, if another boy came and tried to grab me or cause me pain, I would literally knock him out. There'd be a boy laying on the ground unconscious. I did not hold back. Did not hold back from my rage. I was a terror. All the other kids were scared of me on the playground to mess with me because they knew the bigger kids had to stay out of my way, because it was the bigger kids that I would vent my rage on, not the smaller kids. The bigger kids try to bully me, then they would literally get unconscious. Because I was taught to fight when I was little, I was quite dangerous. So anger and pain can be used. One can use one's pain. One can use one's pain to transmute one's anger. I had to learn this. If somebody was causing me anger and I felt the anger welling up like a flame inside of me, like a raging, roaring fire, I would focus on the cause of the pain. And by focusing on the cause of the pain, I would realize that somebody else was causing me pain. And I would look at that person objectively and understand, why is that person causing me pain? And I would undoubtedly end up at the realization that they were in some form of pain that they were trying to get rid of. And that when someone hurts somebody else, it's because they're repressing their own pain. They're trying to escape their own pain in the most fundamental way. And this escapology, running away from pain, is what causes us to become abusive, or to harass people, or to harm people in such a way. And it's very important to grasp this as a fundamental reality, that when someone is harming you, or when there is some situation causing you pain, that is the source of your anger. And when you can realize this, that all anger comes from pain, you've begun the process of learning to transmute anger to pain. And when you take anger, which is a flame that wants to burn, and transmute it to pain, it's much easier to process, to organize, because you're internalizing the anger and you can now contemplate it. And so when you become angry, realize that that is your pain wanting to be expressed. Step back from yourself, step back from the anger. Sit and observe it. Find the cause of the pain. If it's somebody else, observe where they're coming from and realize, look deep into their eyes and realize that they're coming from a place of pain. It'll make it easier to have compassion. The compassion is the key to learning to transmute the anger to the pain. And so we need to be totally in tune with our hearts. Our hearts need to be in tune and open to other people. I just had to speak to my son with some angry words because he was breaking the wildlife. So I threatened to cause him pain. Told him I was going to go and fetch one of his golf clubs and throw it into the sea. I'm quite prepared to do it. So he knows that I'm serious. I don't talk about it unless I'm going to do it. And I think I'm going to have to throw one of his golf clubs into the sea to teach him a lesson, because he's losing respect for the wildlife. That's one thing I will not tolerate. So pain and anger are a teaching mechanism for the universe, to keep us in track, to keep us in our place, to teach us how to modulate ourselves, how to find a sense of balance within ourselves. Bless you. How to navigate this world with sense. And the sensitivity of pain is an important gauge to where we are at in the spiritual plane. For sorrow has been spoken of very much by the Buddha. And we can speak volumes about sorrow, and I will do an entire video on sorrow because it deserves it. Though for now, the focus is on pain. So recognize your pain. Don't reject your pain. Look into other people's eyes and see their pain. This will engender compassion for others. And when you start to become in tune with the vibration of pain, these are for those of you that have issues with anger, or for those of you that wish to just understand the alchemy of self, how to transmute one's emotions. Very important. The shaman is an alchemist. The shaman transmutes the emotions within himself or herself in order to gain a sense of balance and harmony, so that this balance and harmony can be passed and shared with another. And this process we call healing. This is done by entering into a deep trance where the guides are able to present themselves and to guide the shaman through the process of finding the balance and the harmony. from which the pain or the anger or the destructive emotions have arisen. So realize that within you there's the potential to be an alchemist. Within you there's the potential to transmute any of the emotions that you're facing. And once you've transmuted anger to pain, you're halfway there. The next part of the equation of transmutation is to allow the pain to flow through you. And if the pain flowing through you causes tears to flow through your eyes, recognize that those tears will improve your eyesight. They will detoxify your brain. They will cleanse out the hormones in your brain that's causing the anger. I want you to recognize that very carefully. Imagine all the hormones that are patterns carried in the bloodstream. And these are all essentially focused in the head, very much of them, in the brain. Those hormones get released and they get cleansed from your body by tears. This is why when we cry, we feel so much better after we cry. We feel happy. Because the body is literally releasing emotional energy that was bound and stuck in the nadis or the meridians. And the eyes are releasing the hormones. The tears are cleansing the eyes, literally cleansing the eyes. One's perception and one's awareness gets transformed and transmuted. So there's a very simple practice for those of you that are struggling with anger, or for those of you that wish to gain total control of oneself. Anger can be transmuted at any point. No matter how angry, no matter how much of a raging bull you are within yourself of anger, you can take that anger, transmute it to pain in a moment. And I practiced this for much of my life in order to gain total control of my temperament when I was really, really young. I noticed when I was 12, first school I went to when I was 9, the big bully came to bully me and hurt me and hurt me and hurt me and push me and push me and push me. He wouldn't let me go to the toilet. He was the bully of the school. And it got to the point where I'd had enough. And I said, stop pushing me. And he said, stop or what? And he pushed me and he was laughing at me and he was pushing me. And I really wanted to go to the toilet, so I smashed him one. Unfortunately, he got hospitalized. I almost got kicked out of that school on the first day of school. It was a big problem for my mother. That was when I recognized and realized I needed to get a grip on my anger. So I started working with learning to understand my anger. And when I was 12 and I had discovered the occult, I realized that was a wonderful way in order to be able to invoke, face my anger, and banish my anger. Those of you that practice Ganesha mantra, this can be used to banish your anger. Those of you that practice the banishing lesser pentagram ritual, that can be used to banish your anger. You can also use that to invoke your anger, in the same way that you can use Ganesha to remove the obstacles that stop you from feeling your anger, so that you can bring it into your consciousness field and work with it to transmute it. So think of the emotions as beings, the presence of the guides. This is how the shaman would see the emotions. And would realize that all of these feelings and passions and drives and emotions that we experience are the presence of non-physical beings that are part of the matrix of being, that are expressions of this universe as we find ourselves floating through the sphere of consciousness, which is a great dream. And in this great dream of life, all of these emotions become composite. Those of you that are enjoying this video, smash the like button, share this video so that others can enjoy it too. The sphere of consciousness, as we experience this dream, is not what it seems to be. And these emotions are not what they seem to be. If you can learn total control of these emotions, you will gain total control of the self. If you can gain total control of the self, you will gain what is known in the Vedic template, the Siddhi. The Siddhi are the superpowers, the spiritual powers. These will be revealed to you step by step. There are numerous powers that relate to numerous passions. Control of the self means control over nature. This is something fundamental, and this is a big part of the shaman's handbook, because the shaman practices the trance. In the trance, the shaman learns how to control their own passions and their own self, because they are releasing these passions, releasing the inhibitions of self in order to embrace something greater than the self, in order to gain communication with these macro spirits of the self, which are the guides. And these guides are also a part of the matrix of being, so they are the fundamental structuring universal intelligence forces that make this universe come into being. the universe, is obviously not what it seems. So it's a living structure created of a string of living beings that are all bound through the continuity of expression. And the expression is what we experience here in terms of the emotion. And the emotion is what we take inward and turn into thoughts. And then the thoughts drive the little hamster wheel of emotions in our consciousness, and we go round and round like dials in circles, experiencing different aspects of being in patterns. And this becomes the continuity of being. So there is a very simple recipe for learning to control your anger, transmute your anger into a pain, then experience the pain and allow the pain to wash your heart clean. For pain does this, it washes you, it purifies you. Don't forget to subscribe, you won't miss any of my videos. And keep it real, keep it sweet. Wow, I've been seeing a lot of those. Josh, you missed it, my boy. There was a mongoose crossing our path. So yeah, keep it real, keep it sweet. Don't allow your anger to drive you around in circles. It'll take you in a path of life you don't want to be on. Transmute your pain, your anger into pain, and then the pain can be transmuted once again and turn into joy. And the joy comes after you've released the pain. For joy and pain are two sides of the same coin. In the same way that anger and pain are two sides of the same coin. I want you to understand that this is a many-sided coin. In the way is that truth is a many-sided gem, and that many truths are encapsulated within a single truth. So truth is not singular, and truth is not black and white. Truth is essentially grey. And yes, there are total complexities of life that are essentially fundamentally simple. And when you look at the simplicity, it's bound in rivers of complexity. For such is the nature of duality, becoming plural, becoming the multiplicity of being, which is essentially the expression of unity. This is the Bush Whisperer, sharing a few words about the metaphor of life. I hope you have an absolutely gorgeous day, and don't forget to smile. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.